You want to change your life? Then answer this. Have you truly taken control of your morning yet? Because if you do not win your mornings, you will never win your life. Everything you want begins from the first minute you open your eyes. And today, I will bring you back to the position of leading. When you choose to get up in the morning instead of staying in comfort, when you choose discipline instead of delay, focus instead of letting your mind drift, life begins to shift around the rhythm you create. Morning is not just the moment you open your eyes. It is the milestone that sets the direction for the entire day ahead. At first, nothing seems to change. When you fold your blanket, drink water, breathe deeply, or spend a few minutes writing down what matters, everything feels so ordinary that you feel as if you are doing tiny things that create no impact. But as the days pass, you begin to see a movement that is small yet very real. The tiredness becomes lighter. The chaos fades. The things that once left you struggling now begin to fall into place. The fears you carried from the night before are no longer as sharp. The tangled thoughts no longer pull you down as before. In the quiet persistence of the morning, when you create an intentional rhythm for yourself, you discover something most people never see. Morning is when your mind is most open and also most easily influenced. If you let the world pull you along, your entire day will be trapped in a spiral of reaction. But if you lead with an intentional action, you send a powerful message to yourself. I own today. In those silent moments, you find a strength no one gives and no one can take. A steadiness that does not come from applause or great success, but from quiet victories. When you keep moving, not because you must or because someone is waiting, but because you know the morning is the foundation of the best version of you being formed. This is not cold discipline. This is a commitment to your future. And then you will realize this. Winning the morning is winning the entire day. A few small choices repeated long enough become an identity. You are no longer someone trying to keep pace. You become the one who sets the rhythm. This is true victory. Victory is not loud. Victory is built through every breath, every time you rise, every decision not to retreat when your mind wants to pull back. This is how your new day changes. And it is also how your life begins to shift. Morning is the moment when you can rebuild yourself every day. In those first minutes, you are shaping the person you will bring into the world. When you are ready to enter this journey, you understand why winners do not wait for inspiration. They begin. And they begin in the morning. Many believe that those who master the morning possess something special. They think it is a strange kind of inspiration that bursts to life the moment they open their eyes, or a gifted energy that makes them rise with enthusiasm without effort. But the truth is not that. Morning winners do not wake up with a ready-made fire. They are not stronger than you. They are not born with more willpower, and they do not depend on emotion to begin the day. The only thing different is they do not wait for inspiration before acting. They act, and from that action they create their own inspiration. If you think you must feel motivated every morning, that is the greatest barrier holding you back, because no one wakes up every day in perfect spirits. Emotion is the most unstable thing in adult life. A cold morning, a sleepless night, a stressful message, an unexpected expense, a task waiting for you. One small thing can pull your mind off its orbit. If you let yourself depend on comfort, you will spend your life controlled by things outside your control. The truth is, morning masters never ask whether they want to do something today. They only ask what they have committed to, because they understand an unchanging principle. Emotion does not create action. Action creates emotion. This is a truth very few people know. No one can trust their feelings as a stable source of energy. Emotion rises and falls like waves. Some days you feel strong. Some days you feel exhausted. Some days you are full of ideas. Some days you want to disappear from everything. Emotion is not the compass for beginning the morning, and that is why many stay stuck. They wake up and wait to feel ready. They wait for clarity. They wait for a clear mind. They wait for a strong urge. But the morning does not wait for them. Time does not wait for them. And life continues. whether they are ready or not. Morning is where you must lead before emotion reacts. What you must understand is anyone can become a morning winner. No one is born loving discipline. No one is born liking to wake early. No one truly feels excited walking into a day full of responsibilities. The only difference is how they face the moment they open their eyes. Some let that moment decide who they will be for the day. Others use that moment to decide who they will become. Do not believe you fail because you lack willpower. Do not believe you cannot change because you are not a morning person. Do not believe others succeed because they are luckier. Morning chooses no one. Morning comes for everyone. But not everyone knows how to use it. The truth is, you are not defeated by the morning. You are defeated by the stories you tell yourself about the morning. You tell yourself you are not a morning person. You tell yourself your mind is not clear at the start of the day. You tell yourself you will begin once your mind feels sharper. Those stories are not the truth. They are simply the habit of the mind when facing discomfort. The brain does not like change. It always tries to protect you from what feels unfamiliar. And morning is where all change begins. So it tells you that you are tired. It tells you that you need a few more minutes. It tells you that today is not ideal. It tells you that tomorrow is fine. But the brain is not the owner of your life. It only reacts by instinct. The owner is you. If you let instinct decide, you will spend the entire day being pulled around. But if you make the first decision of the day with intention, you reset your entire trajectory. Morning masters understand this clearly. They are not better. They simply do not let instinct pull them away. In the first seconds of the day, they create a moment of intention. That first moment is the breakthrough point. It is like a lever, a very small action that lifts the whole day out of stagnation. Do not mistake that successful people are always excited. Some mornings they also want to stay in bed. Some days they also struggle with heaviness in their mind. But they have built a system so simple that they do not need inspiration to begin. One small motion, one small action, one small rhythm. They win not because they are superior. They win because they do not wait for emotion. And this truth is what frees you. You do not need to change your entire identity to master the morning. You only need to let go of one false assumption. The assumption that you must feel ready. You do not need to feel ready. You only need to begin. Begin before emotion pulls you down. Begin before your mind creates excuses. Begin before your old habits speak up. When you understand this, you will no longer say you are not a morning person. You will say you are the one who begins the day the way you choose. And then the morning will no longer be a battle. It will become a foundation built by action, not emotion. Many people believe that those who master the morning possess something special. They think it is a strange kind of inspiration that can ignite the moment they open their eyes, or a gifted energy that lifts them up with enthusiasm without effort. But the truth is not that. Morning winners do not wake up with a ready-made fire. They are not stronger than you. They are not born with more willpower than you. And they certainly do not depend on emotion to begin the day. The only thing that sets them apart is they do not wait for inspiration before acting. They act, and from that action they create their own inspiration. If you think you must feel full of motivation every morning, that is the greatest barrier holding you back. Because no one wakes up each day with a perfect mood. Emotion is the most unpredictable thing in adult life. A cold morning, a sleepless night, a stressful message, an unexpected expense, a task waiting for you. Just one small thing can pull your mind off its orbit. If you let yourself depend on comfort, you will spend your whole life being controlled by things outside your reach. The truth is, morning masters never ask whether they want to do something today. They only ask what they have committed to, because they understand an unchanging principle. Emotion does not create action. Action creates emotion. This is a truth very few people know. No one can trust their emotions as a stable source of energy. Emotion rises and falls like waves. Some days you feel strong. Some days you feel exhausted. Some days you are full of ideas. Some days you want to disappear from everything. Emotion is not the compass for beginning the morning, and that is why many remain stuck. They wake up and wait to feel ready. They wait for clarity. They wait for a clear mind. They wait for a strong urge. But the morning does not wait for them. Time does not wait for them, and life continues whether they are ready or not. Morning is where you must lead before emotion reacts. What you must understand is anyone can become a morning winner. No one is born loving discipline. No one is born liking to wake early. No one truly feels excited when stepping into a new day filled with responsibilities. The only difference is how they face the moment they open their eyes. Some let that moment decide who they will be for the day. Others use that moment to decide who they will become. Do not believe you fail because you lack willpower. Do not believe you cannot change because you are not a morning person. Do not believe others succeed because they are luckier. Morning chooses no one. Morning comes for everyone, but not everyone knows how to use it. The truth is, you are not defeated by the morning. You are defeated by the stories you tell yourself about the morning. You tell yourself you are not a morning person. You tell yourself your mind is not clear at the start of the day. You tell yourself you will begin when your mind feels sharper. Those stories are not the truth. They are simply the habit of the mind when facing discomfort. The brain does not like change. It always tries to protect you from what feels unfamiliar. And morning is where all change begins. So it tells you that you are tired. It tells you that you need a few more minutes. It tells you that today is not ideal. It tells you that tomorrow is fine. But the brain is not the owner of your life. It is only reacting by instinct. The owner is you. If you let instinct decide, you will spend the entire day being pulled around. But if you make the first decision of the day with intention, you reset your entire trajectory. Morning masters understand this clearly. They are not better. They simply do not let instinct pull them away in the first seconds of the day. They create a moment of intention. That first moment is the breakthrough point. It is like a lever, a very small action that lifts the whole day out of stagnation. Do not misunderstand that successful people are always excited. Some mornings they also want to stay in bed. Some days they also struggle with heaviness in their mind. But they have built a system so simple that they do not need inspiration to begin. One small motion, one small action, one small rhythm. They win not because they are superior. They win because they do not wait for emotion. And this truth is what frees you. You do not need to change your entire identity to master the morning. You only need to let go of one false assumption. The assumption that you must feel ready. You do not need to feel ready. You only need to begin. Begin before emotion pulls you down. Begin before your mind creates excuses. Begin before your old habits speak up. When you understand this, you will no longer say you are not a morning person. You will say you are the one who begins the day the way you choose. And then the morning will no longer be a battle. It will become a foundation. A foundation you build with action, not emotion. There is a simple truth that is so powerful your entire day revolves around it. The rhythm of your morning is the foundation that determines the quality of the rest of your day. People often believe that a good or bad day depends on how life treats them, but it does not. A good or bad day depends on how you begin it. The rhythm you set in the first minutes quietly shapes how you think, how you react, how you handle your tasks, and even how you face yourself. This is not an empty belief. It is a psychological rule that winners understand well. When the morning begins in rush, delay, or chaos, your mind falls into a defensive state. You start the day feeling like you are chasing everything. You react instead of led. You are pulled instead of moving forward. But when the morning begins with an intentional action, even the smallest one, you place your entire day on an active trajectory. You no longer wait for things to happen. You choose what will happen. The morning rhythm is like the first string of a guitar that sets the tone for the entire song. Just one wrong note and the whole song goes in another direction. And just one right note makes the whole day more harmonious. What you must understand is, rhythm is not temporary excitement. It does not come from those rare mornings full of energy. It comes from repetition, from consistency, from the small actions you perform regularly until they become identity. Morning rhythm is not a luxurious ritual. It is stability. It is a clear direction. It is a silent reminder that you are the one deciding your life. When you choose to act as soon as you wake up, you activate a very important mechanism in your brain. It is the mechanism that shifts you from passive to active, from reactive to creative, from old patterns to new thinking. This mechanism works like a switch that turns on clarity, alertness, and confidence. One small action, but its ripple effect is larger than you think. When you perform an intentional action in the morning, you create a self-reinforcing cycle. A good morning leads to a good mind. A good mind leads to good choices. Good choices lead to good results. And good results reinforce the belief that you can take charge of yourself. That cycle repeats each day until you are no longer someone trying to change your life, but someone actually building it. The morning rhythm does something even more important. It shapes your identity. Every morning action does more than produce a result. It sends a message. This is the person I am becoming. You do not drink water in the morning because you must. You do it because you are someone who takes care of yourself. You do not make your bed because it is a task. You do it because you are someone who begins the day with clarity. You do not write down 3 goals each morning because someone told you to. You do it because you are someone who lives with intention. The morning rhythm unlocks that powerful identity. It makes you live by what you choose, not by what you feel. And this is the difference between a day that simply passes and a day that you lead. People often ask, what determines the success of a day? Is it luck? Is it energy? Is it weather? Is it work? It is none of those. The determining factor is intention. When you lead the morning, you lead the day. Things that happen during the day can still be difficult. You will still deal with work pressure. You will still encounter things that frustrate you. But when you master the first moments, you walk into the day with stronger footing, as if you are standing in the right place, as if your breath is steady, as if you already have your hands on the steering wheel. The morning rhythm frees you from something dangerous, the feeling of drifting, the feeling of being lost, the feeling of not knowing where you are going. When you begin the day intentionally, you give your mind a map. You show it what matters, what needs to be done, what does not deserve attention. A few morning actions may seem simple but carry great weight. They are like the first stones of a structure. They create order in the mind. Once structure exists, you are no longer pulled into trivialities. You no longer drift into chaos. You no longer waste energy on what does not matter. And most importantly, you build a kind of energy no one can take away. Energy that comes from consistency. Energy that comes from knowing what you are doing and why. Morning rhythm is not about feeling. It is about direction, not about excitement. It is about commitment, not about perfection. It is about presence. And when you understand this, you realize something profound. Morning is not just the first moment of the day. Morning is destiny in miniature. The way you treat the morning reflects the way you treat your life. When you repeat a morning rhythm long enough, you do not just change your day, you change yourself. You do not become perfect. You become dependable. Dependable with the promises you make to yourself. Dependable with the path you choose. Dependable with the version of you that you are pursuing. And when you become someone who is dependable to yourself, there will be no day you cannot master. You may have heard many times that the morning is the foundation of the entire day, that you must start strong to stay focused. But you may also be carrying a quiet truth that few are willing to admit. Morning is not always easy, and you are not wrong for feeling that way. There is nothing wrong with waking up feeling heavy when your mind wants to pull you back into bed, when you feel you are not strong enough to start the day with the discipline you want. That does not prove you are weak. it only proves you are human. You are not alone in that feeling. Many adults, no matter how strong, steady, or successful, still have mornings when they wake up tired and confused. Sometimes they carry things that cannot be seen with the eye. Stress left over from the day before, worries without answers, goals not yet fulfilled, responsibilities piled on top of one another. Your brain does not operate like a cold machine. It reacts to your life. It defends when you are tired. It shrinks when you are under pressure. It makes you delay not because you are lazy, but because it is trying to protect you from feeling overwhelmed. No one wakes up in the morning and says, "Today, I want to procrastinate." No one chooses the feeling of concrete on their chest when they open their eyes. No one wants thoughts to rush in before they are ready, making the morning uncomfortable. You are not wrong for feeling unready. You are simply experiencing a natural brain response to tasks it sees as tiring or threatening. You are not lacking discipline. You are facing your own defense mechanism. Some mornings feel heavy because of things you never say aloud. The expectations you must meet. The things you pretend do not affect you, but silently drain you. Sometimes you look at others who start their day full of energy, and you think they are better, stronger, or have something special you do not. But the truth is, they experience the same emotions, the same cracks, the same wavering moments as you do. The only difference is they have learned how to keep moving even when they are not perfect. You do not need to be perfect to start a good morning. You do not need to be strong all the time. You do not need to silence your difficult emotions before entering the day. The truth is, those emotions do not make you weak. They make you human. What matters is not removing them, but understanding that you can continue even when they are still there. Maybe you have blamed yourself many times for not being consistent. Maybe you think you cannot change, but you should not blame yourself. Procrastination is not a flaw. It is the brain's defense mechanism when it feels threatened by change. Your brain always chooses the path of least discomfort, and the morning is where you feel that resistance the most. But here is what matters. Resistance does not define you. Resistance is only a reaction, and reactions can be overcome. You are not lacking strength. You are lacking a sense of safety when facing the morning. And I want you to know you are not wrong for feeling that way. You are simply facing what all of us face in our own ways. What you need is not more pressure. What you need is understanding. You need to know that the heaviness when you open your eyes is not a sign of failure. It is a reminder that your body, your mind, and your life are carrying a lot. And you are still continuing. That is the true strength. When you see yourself with more kindness, you begin to understand why hard days are not the enemy. They are where you learn to stand up. They are where you build resilience. They are where you create an identity that does not depend on momentary emotions. You do not need to eliminate the tiredness to become strong. You only need to learn how to walk with it. And when you do, the morning is no longer a battle. It becomes a reminder that you are still moving forward, that you are stronger than you think, that you are capable of leading your day even when your mind resists. No morning is perfect, but every morning is an opportunity. No version of you in the past is a failure. They are all versions learning to rise. You do not need full clarity to begin. You only need presence. And once you are present, you have already begun to win. This is not comfort. This is the truth that very few tell you. No one masters the morning through strength. They master it through understanding themselves. When you understand, you forgive. When you forgive, you soften. When you soften, you return to rhythm. And when you return to rhythm, you begin to change. You do not need to fight yourself. You only need to walk with yourself. And this is when the morning becomes the true starting point. Not because you are perfect, but because you dare to continue. If this gear turns in the right direction at the right speed, the whole system moves smoothly, strongly, without interruption. Your morning is that central gear. And the special thing is, it is so small that people usually overlook it. They believe it is unimportant. They think focusing only on big goals is enough. But they forget that every big machine begins with a small movement, a movement in the place least noticed. Morning is where every other decision finds its rhythm. It is like turning the key to start an engine. No matter how powerful or beautiful or modern a car is, if you do not turn the key correctly or turn it enough, the engine will not start. Your life is the same. You have great potential. You have big dreams. You have abilities you have not fully tapped into. But potential does not wake up by itself. It only wakes up when you turn the key correctly. You turn the key with your morning. You start your life with the first minutes you give to yourself. If you have ever felt your day slip off, rhythm become chaotic, confusing, or constantly pulled away from focus, it does not mean you are inadequate. It only means the engine was not started properly. No one drives a car without starting the engine. But many people drive through life without starting the most important part of themselves. Morning is also like the first light entering a dark room. If a room has been dark for hours, you cannot expect a strong, bright beam to appear immediately. Light always begins with a very small ray, a weak ray but clear enough, and little by little the room brightens. Your mind is that room. When you wake after a long night, your mind is still in the shadows of sleep of yesterday's thoughts of accumulated worries. You cannot force it to shine instantly, but you can turn on a small ray of light. The first ray, a simple action, a small rhythm. From that rhythm, clarity begins to spread. Morning is also like building a bridge. Each day you place one stone. One stone seems insignificant, but after enough days, you have a sturdy bridge that carries you through every challenge. People only see the bridge when it is complete, but they do not see the first stones. Just as people will see the results in your life, but they will not see the quiet mornings when you lead yourself. But you know, and that knowing is what builds your identity. Morning is also like the first breath you take before running a long distance. If you skip that breath, you start the run short of air. But if you take the breath correctly, you can run farther than you think. Your day is the long distance. Morning is the first breath. A good breath creates endurance. A good breath creates calm. A good breath creates the mental strength you need throughout the day. And the amazing thing is that breath only takes a few seconds, but it changes the entire distance. Sometimes morning is like a still lake. When you throw a stone into the water, the ripples spread, expand, and keep going. Your morning action is that stone. A small thing, a simple action. But it creates ripples that affect your mood, your thoughts, your energy, your choices, and finally, the results of your entire day. You do not need to throw a big rock to create powerful waves. You only need to throw the right stone at the right moment. The waves will spread on their own. Morning is also like opening the door to a room you forgot you have the right to arrange. If you open the door and bring in chaos, you live in chaos all day. But if you open the door and bring in order, a simple intention, a steady rhythm, the whole room changes. And no one changes it for you. Only you do. Not through force, through small intentional action. There is something that makes morning even more special. Morning does not belong to the world. It belongs to you. Before life floods in with responsibilities, noise demands, morning is the only moment of the day you can completely own without anyone interrupting. It is your territory. It is your original time. It is the space you are allowed to use to place yourself in the right position. When you know this, you appreciate the morning differently. Not as a task, as a power. The power to lead your day. The power to set the rhythm. The power to shape identity. The power to create clarity before the world asks you to scatter. Morning is not a battle. Morning is a tool. And when you learn to use it correctly, you do not just win a day. You begin to win your life. It is time for you to see your morning not as a task, but as a part of the person you are becoming. Because the simple truth is this: the way you begin your morning does not only tell what you do, it tells who you are. People who see the morning as a burden often believe they must try very hard to become disciplined. But you do not need to turn yourself into someone else. You only need to look at the story you are telling about yourself. If you believe you are someone who struggles to wake early, you will act that way. If you believe you are someone who easily procrastinates, you will act that way. If you believe you are someone who is not good at beginning the day with focus, you will repeat that every day. Not because you lack ability, but because you are acting exactly according to the identity your mind assigned to you long ago. But identity is not the truth. It is only the result of what you have grown used to doing. And if you can create an identity through old habits, you can create a new one through new rhythms. This is what changes everything. You do not need to try to become a disciplined person. You only need to decide that you are the one who leads the new day. Morning stops being an effort. Morning becomes the natural part of a new person. A person you are training, shaping, and building day by day. This is no longer something you must do. This is something you do because it aligns with your identity. You do not wake early because you force yourself to. You wake early because you are someone who begins the day with intention. You do not drink water in the morning because someone said it is healthy. You drink because you are someone who cares for yourself. You do not write morning goals because it is a ritual of successful people. You write because you are someone who lives with clear intention. These actions are no longer separated. They become extensions of the identity you choose. And when identity changes, action becomes far easier. For many years, you may have believed you must change habits to change your life. But the deeper truth is the opposite. You change identity, then the habits change themselves. When you enter the day thinking, I must do this, you are using willpower to fight old habits. But when you enter the day thinking, this is what I do because this is who I am, you are no longer fighting. You are living in alignment. And that is more powerful than any short burst of motivation. Look at yourself. How many times in life have you changed something simply because you believed you were the kind of person who fit that change? When you believed you were responsible, you acted responsibly. When you believed you were caring, you acted with care. When you believed you were strong, you acted with strength. Identity always leads action. And morning is where you rewrite your identity every day. You do not need to fight to become who you think you should be. You only need to train yourself to become who you already have the potential to be. When you change identity, you do not force yourself to live differently. You simply remove the old stories that no longer fit. The story that you are not good at starting the day. The story that you lack discipline. The story that morning is your enemy. Those stories exist not because they are true. They exist because they have been repeated for too long, and the only thing needed to change them is a new story. The new story says, you are the one who sets the rhythm of your day. You are the one who begins before life pulls you. You are the one who chooses action over reaction. You are the leader, not the one being dragged. When you bring this story into your morning, you no longer feel you must try to live differently. You are living as the person you are becoming. A person of intention. A person of direction. A person who knows identity is not something given. It is something built from the first minutes of each day. There is a powerful truth few people say. When you change identity, you change how the brain interprets effort. A person who believes they are not a morning kind of person will struggle every time they place their feet on the floor. But a person who believes they are someone who begins the day with clarity will not experience that battle. They simply do what their identity requires, and that does not drain energy. It creates energy. Your new identity does not form in one day. It is formed through the moments you choose to live by it. Every morning you stand up when your mind wants to delay. Every time you take a small intentional action. Every time you choose clarity instead of chaos. All those moments are teaching your brain that this is who you are. Repeat it long enough, and without effort it becomes the truth. You do not need to wait for life to change before becoming a better version of yourself. You become the better version first, then life changes after. Morning is where that version begins. you are no longer someone trying to master the morning. You are someone using the morning to master yourself. And when you carry this identity, you will realize you were never lacking discipline. You were only lacking a story strong enough to bring you into the right rhythm. Morning does not change you only through action. Morning changes you through the new definition you give yourself. And when that definition becomes clear, there is no day you cannot lead. When you begin to see the morning as a part of your identity, a question appears. So what should I do to begin the right way? People often think that to change their life, they need big changes. 1 hour of exercise, a long list of goals, a full reading session, a complete morning routine. But the truth lies in the opposite direction. Life does not change through big steps. Life changes through steps so small the mind cannot create reasons to resist them. Your morning does not need to explode with intensity. It only needs one small, steady rhythm. A rhythm you can repeat every day without feeling overwhelmed. A rhythm so small you cannot fail, but big enough to change the entire direction of your day. Start with a simple action. It can be 1 minute of slow breathing before you touch your phone, a sip of water to wake your body, a short reminder to yourself. 1 line written in your notebook, 1 simple step small enough that the brain cannot refuse. These actions sound too small to create change. But their power lies not in size, but in their ability to create momentum. 1 small action reduces the mental resistance. When resistance drops, the next action becomes easier. It is like pushing a door. At first you use a lot of force, but once it opens a little, the rest becomes lighter. Many people fail not because they lack determination, but because they set demands too high in the first moments of the day. The brain sees the goal and sees a mountain. And when it sees a mountain, it freezes. When you demand yourself to change too quickly, the mind does not resist because it is lazy. It resists because it is trying to protect you from overwhelm. But when you offer a small step, you give the mind a sense of safety. A small step is a non-threatening signal. It is light enough to bypass the defense, but when repeated, it is strong enough to bring down the biggest obstacles in your life. You do not need to run a mile in the morning. You only need to put on your shoes. You do not need to read a chapter. You only need to read a paragraph. You do not need to write a full page of plans. You only need to write 3 words. The small action opens the door, and once the door opens, you enter the state of intention. You shift from being pulled to being the one leading. The best thing about the tiny step is it defeats the biggest force holding you back in the morning. Invisible delay, the thing that makes you think you will start in a few minutes. After you wake up more, after your mind settles. But those minutes stretch into hours, and those hours stretch into a day that loses rhythm. But 1 small step breaks delay instantly. It creates the feeling I have already started. And once you have started, you are no longer in the same position. You have entered a different orbit, the orbit of action instead of reaction. Remember, the goal of the tiny step is not to make you better immediately. Its goal is to create movement. When you have movement, focus returns. When focus returns, consistency begins. And when consistency begins, the identity you want becomes real. You cannot build confidence through thoughts alone. You build confidence through small actions repeated steadily. Every time you complete that small step, you send a powerful message to the brain. I do what I say. And each time that message is sent, you strengthen your belief in yourself. You build a foundation no one can take away. The most important thing is the tiny step must be simple enough that you have no reason to delay. If you want to drink water in the morning, place the glass right next to your bed. If you want to write your goals, put the notebook right on the desk. If you want to walk for a few minutes, leave your shoes by the door. That is not trivial convenience. It is strategy. When you bring the action closer to yourself, you reduce the distance between intention and execution. The smaller the distance, the easier it is to begin. And when beginning becomes easy, the morning rhythm becomes stable. Think of the tiny step as a spark. You do not need to light the whole pile of wood at once. You only need to ignite a small flame. When the flame begins, it creates heat. When there is heat, it lights the rest. Your morning works the same way. The spark is the small action. The rhythm is the pile of wood. You cannot burn the wood without the spark, but a strong enough spark will ignite it all. The important thing is to stay loyal to the tiny step each day. Not because you are weak, but because you are building the strongest system. The small step is light enough to maintain without motivation. But when repeated, it is strong enough to shape your entire life. People often underestimate the power of the small because they only look at immediate results. But big results always begin with loyalty to small steps. Repeat long enough, and the small step becomes rhythm. Rhythm becomes habit. Habit becomes identity, and identity becomes destiny. You do not need to change your whole morning in one day. You only need to change the first minute. 1 minute of stillness, 1 minute of intention, 1 minute that reminds you who you are becoming. And that 1 minute is where your day begins to belong to you. Even if you have the clearest tiny step, you will still meet an opponent that appears every morning. Something silent, persistent, stronger than you think. Resistance. It is the moment your mind whispers just a few more minutes. It is the heaviness in your body pulling you to stay in bed. It is the familiar voice saying, "You have no energy today." It is the vague feeling convincing you that you are not ready. Resistance does not appear to break you. It appears to protect you from what the brain believes is a threat. And any positive change is seen as a threat because the brain loves familiarity. It loves what does not demand extra energy. It loves when you lie down, not because you are weak, but because the brain always seeks the path of least effort. Resistance always shows up when you do something important. It does not appear when you stay curled in old habits. It appears only when you try to rise above yourself. This means if you feel resistance every morning, nothing is wrong with you. It is a sign you are going in the right direction. The mistake many people make is thinking they must destroy resistance to start the day. But no one destroys it. Resistance does not disappear. It only loses control if you act before it takes over. You break resistance not with strength. You break it with small rhythm, by moving your body even a little, by doing a simple action even when your mind wants to delay. When you lift yourself a few centimeters off the bed, you have begun to win. When you take one small step toward the sink, you have won. When you take one deep breath instead of lying still, you have won. You do not need to feel strong to begin winning. You only need to move before the old thoughts pull you back. Remember, resistance is strongest in the first moment of the morning. This is not random. When you first wake up, the brain is shifting from unconscious to conscious. In this window, it is easily influenced by laziness, fear, fatigue, and unfinished thoughts from the previous day. If you wait a few minutes to feel more comfortable, you have given resistance time to take the steering wheel. And when it does, the whole morning slips away. So the key is not comfort. The key is taking the first action as quickly as possible. Do not think, do not evaluate, do not negotiate, just do. One effective way to beat resistance is to break the morning into 2-minute rhythms. 2 minutes to make the bed, 2 minutes to breathe, 2 minutes to write down one thing you want to complete, 2 minutes on the porch to take in fresh air. Each 2-minute rhythm is a small step that cannot threaten the brain. 2 minutes is too short to scare you, but 2 minutes is long enough to create moving energy. When you complete the first 2-minute rhythm, resistance weakens. When you complete the second rhythm, your mind starts to follow you instead of fighting you. By the third rhythm, you are no longer battling. You have won. No one feels motivation before they begin. Motivation does not come from feeling. Motivation comes from movement. When you act, first emotion follows. But most people do the opposite. They wait for the perfect emotion, then act, and they get stuck in a morning of hesitation. If you reverse the order, you reverse the day. Action first, emotion follows. That is the rule all morning masters rely on. They are not stronger than you. They simply understand how the mind works and know how to stay one step ahead of resistance. Another way to defeat resistance is to reduce morning complexity. The more choices you have, the stronger resistance becomes. If you must choose what to do first, you get stuck. If everything you need is prepared the night before, you give resistance no chance. Shoes ready by the door, notebook set on the desk, water glass next to the bed. These small preparations are not convenience. They are strategy to limit the space where resistance operates. When you reduce choices, you increase the chance of beginning. And when you begin, resistance loses power. Sometimes, resistance does not come from fatigue. It comes from fear. Fear of not being good enough. Fear of failing. Fear of not being able to maintain. Fear of starting, then stopping again. But here is what you need to know. You do not need to finish everything in the morning. You only need to begin, because that beginning teaches you that you still have the power to lead your own life. And when you have power, fear shrinks. Face the truth. You do not need to feel ready to win the morning. You only need to be willing to take the first step. When you overcome resistance in the first minute, you do not just win the morning. You teach your new identity that it is stronger than every old habit. That is the first victory. And that first victory opens the path to every victory of the day. At some point, you will realize that facing the morning every day is like fighting ocean waves. The waves keep coming again and again, and you cannot win by trying to push against each one. You only win by learning to ride them. Life works the same way. Resistance will always appear. Fatigue will always be present. Slow, heavy mornings will never disappear completely. But you do not need to eliminate them. You only need to build a morning system strong enough to continue, even when your emotions are not supportive. A system is what carries you when motivation fades. A system is what keeps you steady when your mind wavers. A system is what determines whether you will lead your life or be swept by it. Many people fail not because they are weak, but because they rely too much on willpower. Willpower is like a phone battery. If you use it too much, it drains. If your day depends on willpower, you will have a few good days and many days slipping off track. But a system is different. A system does not need inspiration. It does not need special energy. A system only needs you to show up. And when you have the right system, the morning becomes lighter because you do not have to make too many decisions. You simply follow what you designed for yourself. A good morning system begins with 3 qualities. Easy to start, easy to repeat, and meaningful. Easy to start means you do not struggle to begin. You know what you do first. You know you only need one small step. Easy to repeat means your morning does not depend on circumstances. Busy day, you can still do it. Tired day, you can still do it. Bad mood day, you can still do it. And meaningful means what you do genuinely moves you forward, not just fills time. Start the system with simple instructions. After you brush your teeth, drink water. After you drink water, stand still for 1 minute and breathe. After you breathe, write down the 3 most important things of the day. After you write, do one small action to activate your body. Each action connects to the next. When you finish one, you automatically know what comes next. This is called an action chain. The action chain defeats the 2 most dangerous forces of the morning, delay and distraction. Without a chain, you easily get lost. You open your eyes and your mind starts running everywhere. You check your phone. You remember yesterday's unfinished tasks. You think about the pressure ahead. You let your mind lead you, instead of you leading your mind. But with a chain, you do not think. You simply do. And because you do, you enter rhythm. When you enter rhythm, the mind becomes clear. When the mind becomes clear, you begin the day with intention. An effective morning system must be simple enough to perform in all situations. On a good day, you can extend it. On a difficult day, you can still maintain a shorter version. But the most important thing is, you never lose the rhythm. As long as you keep one small action, you keep your identity. And when you keep your identity, you keep the power to lead your day. The beautiful part is when the system is strong enough, you no longer wonder whether you will do it. You simply do. Just like you do not need motivation to brush your teeth, you do it because it is what you always do. Morning will become the same. Not a battle. Not a negotiation. Not hesitation. just a natural part of you. A strong morning system also helps you control your mind by reducing unnecessary decisions. Every decision in the morning drains mental energy. The more you decide, the easier it becomes to fail later. But when everything is prepared the night before, you eliminate most unnecessary choices. Clothes laid out, water ready, notebook set in place, notifications turned off. These small preparations create a big difference, because when you wake up, everything is ready for you to begin. No delay, no distraction, no chaos. A morning system must also be flexible. It must fit your life. If you have young children, design a compact and adaptable system. If you have a high-pressure job, create a system that brings clarity before your long day. If you often feel tired in the morning, build a system with gentle steps to wake your body slowly. A system is not meant to trap you. It is meant to make life easier. Remember, the goal of the morning system is not to make you rigid. Its goal is to keep you away from chaos. Chaos is what pulls you from the life you want. A system is what keeps you close to your goals. With a system, you are no longer dependent on fluctuating inspiration. You are no longer dragged by sudden urgencies. You have an anchor. You have a foundation. You have stability. In the end, what makes a morning system strongest is not perfection. It is repetition. Every morning you repeat the system, you strengthen the identity that carries you farther. Every time you keep the rhythm, even at the minimum, you tell yourself, I am dependable. And nothing is more powerful than a person who can trust themselves every day. When the system is steady, life becomes steady, and the morning is where the system begins. No matter how clear your morning system is, no matter how strong your identity becomes, you will still face something that influences you more deeply than you realize. Environment. Many people do not notice that the surroundings shape behavior more strongly than willpower. It quietly determines what you do, how you feel, and where your day is headed. Environment can lift you up or pull you down without you noticing, and because it works silently, it becomes one of the strongest forces of the morning. You cannot expect yourself to have a proactive morning if your environment is designed to push you into delay. But you do not need a perfect environment. You only need an environment that serves your new identity, an environment that tells you what you need to do without requiring you to fight for it. The morning environment begins with the smallest things: the glass of water placed in the right spot, the notebook already on the table, the phone set far from reach, the workout clothes laid out. Each small thing is like a reminder, like a sign saying, start here. When everything you need for the first step is already in place, the morning becomes easier, not because you are stronger, but because you are not fighting invisible obstacles. The truth is, you are not defeated by big things. You are defeated by small things stacked together. And a well-designed environment removes those small obstacles. Look at the room you wake up in each morning. What does it say about you? What does it reflect about the identity you want to build? If you step into a messy space, you begin the day in chaos. If the first thing you see is your phone, you are pulled into the world of others before you step into your own. If everything you see after waking is something stressful, your morning is shaped before you get the chance to shape it. Environment always precedes behavior. And if you want your day to begin in the right direction, environment is what you must set correctly first. A good morning space is one that reduces resistance and increases the chance of starting. It must make the first step so light that you have no reason to delay. Keep the important things closest to you. Keep the distracting things farthest from you. If your phone is what steals your morning, move it to another room. If social media pulls you out of rhythm, turn off notifications. If chaotic thoughts overwhelm you, keep your notebook where you can write within seconds. Every small environmental change is a powerful lever. It does not need willpower. It only needs preparation. And preparation is always easier than fighting. Another important part of environment is the rhythm of the space. Morning is not the time to drown in noise or clutter. Morning needs stillness, needs openness, needs clarity. A room does not need to be beautiful, but it needs to be tidy. A desk does not need to be perfect, but it needs to be clean. A small corner does not need to be luxurious, but it needs to be separated from the chaos of life. This is not decoration. This is strategy. When you step into a space with order, your mind naturally settles into order. And when your mind is in order, you begin the day with stability. Stability is the foundation of all intentional action. Remember, environment is not only physical, it is also psychological. The things you hear first thing in the morning, the words you speak to yourself, the images you see first. If your morning begins with negative news, you carry that energy all day. If your morning begins with comparing yourself to others, you step into the day with a sense of lack. If your morning begins with rushing into work before you even breathe, you begin in a reactive state. But if you take just 1 minute to choose what you feed your mind, you change the internal environment. A positive reminder, a moment of gratitude, a quiet breath, a small action but one that creates a safe inner space. The external environment helps you start. The internal environment helps you maintain. Another important truth is, you do not need to design a perfect environment in one day. You only need to improve it little by little. Today, place the water glass correctly. Tomorrow, clear the desk. The next day, move the phone out of the bedroom. Just one small change each day, and after a few weeks you have a completely new environment. An environment that serves the identity you are building. An environment that makes the morning so smooth, you no longer need to fight it. Environment is a silent ally. It says nothing, but it shapes everything. The right environment pushes you forward even when you are tired. The wrong environment pulls you back even when you are trying hard. And the wonderful thing is, environment is something you control. No one decides your morning space but you. No one chooses what you see, what you hear, what you touch, the moment you open your eyes except you. When you design the environment correctly, you do not just change the morning, you change the experience of the entire day. And from the experience of the day, you change your entire life. There is a moment in the journey of mastering your morning when you must face a truth that is not easy to hear but frees you more than anything else. No one is responsible for your morning except you. No one walks into your bedroom at dawn to decide who you will be today. No one can stand up for you, breathe for you, write down what matters for you, or begin the formation of your day for you. External factors may influence you, but they do not decide. What decides is your attitude toward responsibility. Many people live their entire lives feeling like the morning controls them. They wake up and let their mood lead. They begin the day by checking their phone, reading the news, or letting unorganized thoughts pull them around. They let life choose the rhythm for them. But the truth is, no one does that to them. No one forces them. They simply let passiveness become the default. And when passiveness becomes the default, the morning loses its power. 100% responsibility does not mean blaming yourself. Responsibility is not a burden. Responsibility is ownership. It is acknowledging that you cannot control everything in life, but you can control how you begin the day. This shift is more powerful than any tip or technique. Because when you take full ownership, you change your position in your own life. You are no longer in the back seat, you are in the driver's seat. 100% responsibility is not pressure, it is power. Because only when you take full responsibility do you regain your strength. When you say, "I am just too sleepy," you hand away control. When you say, "I cannot wake up early because of my schedule," you hand away control. When you say, "I am not good at keeping habits," you hand away control. But when you say, "I choose to begin my day in the way I believe is right," you take that control back. And when the control returns to you, the morning is no longer something that happens to you, but something you create. The hardest part is not the action. The hardest part is accepting that the action belongs to you. People often react to things they cannot control, but they delay the things they can. Morning is one of the things you control more than you think. You can choose to get up even when your head feels heavy. You can choose to drink water even when your body wants to stay down. You can choose to stand even when you do not feel ready. You can choose to act even when your mind asks you to delay. That choice does not need to be perfect. It only needs to appear. One small choice, but it changes the entire direction. When you take responsibility, you begin to see the morning through a different lens. You stop asking, why am I still tired? Why do I lack motivation? Why can I not stay consistent? And you begin asking the more important question, what do I choose right now? Because the moment you choose, you break the old cycle and open a new one. The cycle of ownership, the cycle of clarity, the cycle of growth. One interesting thing is that when you take responsibility, you no longer feel forced to change. You change because you want to. You change because you realize that if you do not take responsibility for your morning, no one can do it for you. And when you take responsibility, you free yourself from helplessness. You begin to feel capable. You begin to feel stronger. You begin to feel like you are directing life instead of being carried by it. When you take responsibility, you also begin to look at your small habits with more honesty. You do not blame the environment, you adjust it. You do not blame emotions. You move through them with action. You do not blame the past. You build the present through morning steps. This is what separates the one who walks from the one who gets pulled. The one who walks does not need a perfect morning. They only need a morning that belongs to them. One of the things that makes responsibility so powerful is that it does not require any specific condition. You do not need more money to take responsibility. You do not need to be smarter. You do not need more time. You do not need to be more perfect. You only need one decision that from today I take responsibility for the first minute of my day. You do not need to take responsibility for your whole life at once. You only need to take responsibility for the first moment of each morning. That moment is strong enough to change the rest of the day. And the rest of the day is strong enough to change the rest of your life. Responsibility is not the pressure of adulthood. It is the maturity of someone who wants a life with direction. And morning is the simplest place to practice that. When you wake up and choose action, you are making a silent declaration. I am the one in charge. And each time you make that declaration, you build a layer of inner strength no one can take from you. Responsibility brings freedom. Freedom from the sadness that life is controlling you. Freedom from the aimlessness that leaves you drifting. Freedom from the feeling of being stuck in repetitive days. When you take responsibility for the morning, you reclaim that freedom. You enter the day as the one who leads. And when a day begins with a leader, it is very hard for it to end with someone being dragged. Morning is the place where you declare to yourself that you have returned. You are present. You are in control. And when you are present in the first moment of the day, the entire day listens to you. There will be mornings when you do not do what you planned. There will be days when you wake up later than you intended. There will be days when you open your eyes and know you have missed the rhythm. There will be days when you look at the system you built and realize you have slipped out of it. And in that moment, the first thing that shows up is usually not calm, but disappointment. People often believe that failure is a sign they are not meant for change. But failure is only a sign that they are trying. And trying always means there will be moments of falling. You cannot change your life without experiencing missed mornings. You cannot build consistency without having days that break it. No system ever stays perfect. No journey ever stays straight. No strong person becomes strong without walking through their own failures. And morning is where you see that most clearly, where you face your own imperfection, where you learn to stand up even when the rhythm is gone, where you understand that failure is not the end but the material that makes you stronger. The issue is not that you fail. The issue is what you do with that failure. Many people let one bad morning destroy the whole day, one bad day destroy the whole week, one bad week destroy the whole month, not because they are weak, but because they think one lost rhythm means they are not meant for the path they are on. But the truth is completely different. One lost rhythm says nothing about your ability. It only says that you are human. Humans miss steps, humans get tired, humans have difficult moments, but only strong humans know how to stand up after that moment. Consistency is not born from never falling. It is born from coming back faster than before. If before you needed a week to return, now you only need a day. If before you lost motivation when you slipped, now you know how to pull yourself back with one small action. Progress lies in the speed of your return, not the number of times you slip. Each time you return faster, you are training a mental muscle that most people do not have. The muscle of recovery, the muscle of resilience, the muscle of someone who does not give up on themselves. One of the biggest mistakes adults make is thinking that only perfect mornings have value. But imperfect mornings are where you learn the most about yourself. They show you your real reflex. They show you how you face chaos. They show you the level of your commitment. They are the most subtle test of maturity. And maturity is not measured by how many times you do things right, but by how many times you continue even when you did them wrong. Remember that your brain does not learn from perfection. It learns from repetition. Each time you return after a small failure, the brain records that you are someone who comes back. You do not quit. You do not give up. You do not let one morning wash away the whole journey. You are teaching your brain that failure is not a signal to stop, but a signal to continue. And when you do this, enough failure stops scaring you. It becomes part of the rhythm, something you are familiar with, something you know how to handle. You cannot control every morning, but you can control how you return. You can control your reaction to losing rhythm. You can control the choice you make right after you realize you slipped. And that choice creates the biggest difference. Because if you let disappointment pull you down, you destroy the foundation you are building. But if you look at the failure and say, "I will return today," you turn failure into fuel. Fuel does not come from perfection. It comes from persistence. It comes from the will of someone who knows that building the self is not a straight line, but a crooked one. But crooked still moves forward. Crooked still gets you where you want to go. Ask yourself this. When you lose rhythm, what do you say to yourself? Do you blame or do you lead? Do you say you failed again, or do you say you can still continue? The words you say to yourself after failure are one of the strongest factors determining whether you will grow. People often use failure to judge themselves, but strong people use failure to understand themselves, to understand that they are still trying, to understand that they are still on the journey, to understand that they are not giving up. And here is something few people tell you. Sometimes the bad mornings are the ones that strengthen your strongest identity. Not the identity of perfection, but the identity of resilience, the identity of someone who knows how to stand back up, the identity of someone who knows how to return, the identity of someone who finds their rhythm again even after being interrupted. Because it is in those moments of lost rhythm that you learn to build trust in yourself, trust that you can fall and still rise, trust that you can slip and still continue, trust that you can be imperfect and still move forward. Failure does not take your strength away. It only checks if you are willing to use your strength. And each time you use it, you become a bit stronger. Each time you return, you reinforce the new identity you are building. Each time you move through a small failure, you break the old story that you cannot change. No growth journey exists without failure. But some journeys are only meant for those who know how to turn failure into fuel. And morning is where you train that ability every day. There is a truth that very few people accept. You cannot change your life if you do not learn to love the process. People often love results. They love the image of success. They love the idea of a better version of themselves. They love the feeling of victory when they see the final outcome. But they struggle with the small steps, the simple actions, the morning spent repeating things that look tiny and boring. They want life to change quickly. But life does not operate by speed. It operates by rhythm. And rhythm is built from process, not from results. Loving the process means you know that the real value does not lie in the destination. The value lies in the person you become while you walk. No one sees that when they first start their morning, but after a while they realize that it is the first minutes of the day, the repeated actions, the consistency in simple things that create the peace, the stability, and the confidence they have been searching for. Loving the process is not loving comfort. Loving the process is loving the growth you feel inside each small step you take every day. Many people quit not because they lack ability. They quit because they always demand results immediately. They cannot endure the silence of the process. They cannot endure the days when nothing seems to change. But the truth is, the process is never loud. It is quiet. It is subtle. It happens in the small stability you create each morning. One deep breath, one glass of water, one page of notes, 1 minute of stillness, one small action. You do not see it change on the first day. You do not see it change in the first week. But then one day you look back and realize you are different. No longer rushed as before. No longer falling into chaos easily. No longer letting the world pull you around. You become the one who leads. Not because you did anything huge, but because you loved every small part of the process. Loving the process means you do not wait until the day you achieve something to feel proud. You feel proud the moment you complete one small rhythm. When you wake up on time, when you drink water instead of grabbing your phone, when you take a deep breath instead of curling into exhaustion, when you write down one important thing, each action is a victory. A victory no one claps for, no one sees, but you know. And that knowing builds a kind of strength that does not come from outside approval, but from the respect you give yourself. Loving the process also means you no longer see the morning as a task to finish. Morning becomes a ritual that nourishes your inner energy, a ritual that brings your mind back to clarity and stability, a ritual that reminds you that you can begin again every day, no matter how bad yesterday was. A ritual that tells you that progress is not speeding up, progress is continuing, and continuing is what the process asks of you. If you learn to love the process, you no longer fear slow days. You no longer panic when you have an imperfect morning. You no longer let fatigue make you doubt your worth. Because you know the process never moves in a straight line. It alternates between good days and bad days. Clear days and foggy days, strong days and shaky days. But the process continues, and you continue. The amazing thing is that when you love the process, you stop being obsessed with doing a lot. You only focus on doing the right rhythm. You do not need to finish everything in one morning. You only need to begin. You only need to maintain. You only need to be present in the first minute. When you are there, the process appears. When you repeat it, the process grows. When you trust it, the process gives you the stability you have searched for. Loving the process does not make your life easier immediately, but it makes your life structured. It makes disruptions no longer knock you down. It makes pressure no longer make you lose direction. It helps you stand firm in difficulties that once felt impossible. Not because you are stronger, but because you have a process holding you up. There is one more thing you must remember. When you love the process, you no longer live in haste. You live in depth. You start seeing the value of each morning. You begin to feel the small changes in your mind. You begin to honor moments of stillness. You begin to see consistency as a kind of freedom. Freedom from unstable emotion. Freedom from chaos. Freedom from an old identity that no longer fits. People who master the morning do not do so because they have infinite energy. They master the morning because they love the process. They love the feeling of returning to themselves each morning. They love the feeling of beginning with clarity. They love the small rhythms that create stability. And it is the love for the process that keeps them from quitting, from breaking the rhythm, from letting a bad day ruin the next. The process is what keeps them standing. You do not need to love the results first. You only need to love one small moment of the process. And if you love it long enough, your life will change color. Because life does not change through giant leaps. It changes because you love the process enough to keep taking one step at a time. To master the morning, to build a new identity, to love the process, you must understand something adults often forget. Life is not built by a few strong days. It is built by many years of persistence. People often think change comes from explosive moments, but the truth lies in the opposite direction. Change comes from thousands of small moments you repeat with consistency. Long-term thinking is what separates those who only want to feel good from those who truly want a better life. If you see the morning only as a challenge, you will quit when you are tired. But if you see the morning as part of a long game, you will continue even when slow, even when tired, even when imperfect, because you understand that every lasting change comes from a prolonged process, not a sudden burst. Long-term thinking keeps you from being swept away by small fluctuations. Today, you have a bad morning. It is fine. It is just a small point in a chart of many months. You do not evaluate your progress by one day. You evaluate it by how you return the next day. When you live with long-term thinking, failure does not break you, because you do not place your worth on a single moment. You place it on the number of moments repeated, and those moments can always be started again. Long-term thinking also changes how you see growth. You no longer chase fast results. You chase lasting transformation. You understand that people do not grow on the days they win. They grow during the weeks they continue, even when there are no signs. The days you do things right matter less than the days you do not quit. When you adopt long-term thinking, you see each morning as a brick. One brick builds nothing, but hundreds of bricks create a foundation stronger than you imagined, and you are willing to place each brick day after day. What makes long-term thinking powerful is that it frees you from the pressure of perfection. You know you do not need to win today to win your life. You only need to face the right direction. Long-term thinking tells you that speed does not matter as much as endurance. You can go slow. You can go very slow, but you must go. And as long as you go, you rise above your old self day by day. When you live with short-term thinking, you are easily shaken. One bad day makes you think you are not meant for this. One lost rhythm makes you think everything collapsed. One week of lost habits makes you think you are back to zero. But when you have long-term thinking, you understand that all of these are small fluctuations. They are not strong enough to pull you off your path, because the path is too long to be affected by one misstep. And you no longer get destabilized by small errors. Long-term thinking also helps you see the value of consistency. Not perfect consistency, but the consistency of someone who knows what truly matters. 1 minute in the morning is more important than 1 hour of chaos in the afternoon. One breath at the start of the day is more important than chasing time later. One small action in the morning is more important than a chain of goals you never begin. When you see everything through the long-term lens, you know that even the smallest win has value, because it is part of a much bigger picture. Long-term thinking also frees you from comparison. People compare because they think results are what matter most. But when you live with long-term thinking, you understand that everyone has a different pace, a different journey, a different rhythm. There is no reason to compare. The one running faster is not guaranteed to go farther. The one going slower does not mean they will not pass you later. The only thing that matters is that you are still moving and you do not stop. Another powerful thing long-term thinking gives you is patience. Patience is not waiting. Patience is continuing to do the right thing even when you do not see results yet. A person with long-term thinking does not ask, "When will things change?" They ask, "How can I continue?" They understand that time is not the enemy, time is the ally. Every morning they practice their habit is a reminder that they are investing in their future life, not investing once but investing every day. Long-term thinking makes you humble yet strong. Humble because you know change requires time. Strong because you know time is something you can control through repetition. You no longer want to win immediately. You want to win solidly. You do not want to change in a week. You want to change in years. You do not want results to show off. You want results to live. When you live with this mindset, You become someone whose stability earns deep respect. Finally, long-term thinking makes you gentler with yourself. You no longer blame yourself, no longer judge yourself, no longer call yourself a failure because of one bad morning. You simply return. You simply continue. You simply keep the rhythm. And that gentleness is what makes you durable, because people do not quit because they are weak. They quit because they are too harsh on themselves. Long-term thinking frees you from that harshness. It places you in a stable, calm state where you can keep going far. And when you understand long-term thinking, you understand that life is not a speed race. It is a patient journey for those who know how to keep the rhythm each day. Morning is where you train that mindset. And that mindset is what takes you farther than any goal you ever imagined. When you reach the end of this journey, there is one thing you must remember. Morning is not a way for you to become perfect. Morning is a way for you to become present. Present in your own life. Present in your own choices. Present in the version of yourself you are trying to build each day. No one can do that for you. No one can wake up early for you. No one can stand up for you when heavy emotions pull you down. No one can begin the first rhythm for you. But no one can take away the strength that appears inside you when you do it. Morning is the reminder that you still have the power to change. You still have the power to correct your direction. You still have the power to begin again no matter how bad yesterday was. Morning says you are never too late to start living a life of intention. No matter your age, no matter how many failures you have lived through, no matter how many times you lost yourself, morning always gives you a new chance. A new door, a new beginning. And the most important thing is you do not need to turn yourself into someone else. You only need to become the person you have always had the capacity to become. The consistent one, the proactive one, the intentional one, the one who shows up for themselves, the one who does not chase perfection, but chases the process, the one who understands that big change does not come from extraordinary moments, but from small actions repeated in silence. You do not need a perfect day. You only need a morning pointed in the right direction. Today you stand at the threshold of a new journey, not a journey of inspiration, but a journey of commitment, not a journey of promises, but a journey of action, not a journey of vague hope, but a journey of clear choice. You do not need to know where everything will lead. You only need to know you will be present in the first minute of the day. And when you are present in the first minute, the entire day changes. Then the week changes, the month changes, the whole life changes. Morning is where you rewrite your story. A story that no longer begins with exhaustion or chaos, but begins with intention and calm. A story where you hold the pen. And when you hold the pen, you are not only rewriting the morning, you are rewriting your life. Today you have heard a journey that reveals a simple truth powerful enough to transform your entire life. When you win your mornings, you do not just start the day better, you rebuild yourself from the roots. Each first breath of the day, each tiny step, each moment you choose to show up, all of them are training you to become a stronger version of yourself you always had the potential to become. Every morning is a chance for you to reclaim your strength. And when you keep that rhythm, your life shifts direction. Thank you for taking the time to listen. If this message touched you, like, share, and subscribe to the channel to continue receiving stories that help you grow every day. See you in the next video.